Say your name and your connection to the district. Yes, and just push the button, the right-hand button.
So good evening, through the chair to the superintendents, trustees, educators, parents, and caregivers. My name is Patricia, and I'm here today as a parent and educator in our school system. I've worked as a youth care worker and an education assistant in the Fraser Valley for over 20 years. I'm concerned about the mental health of my students. I've advocated for the most vulnerable in our schools and society. I have been, and I am their frontline support person. My students have varying degrees of issues, whether it be neurodivergent students, students on various spectrums, students within the LGBTQI+ community, youth struggling with trauma, anxiety, depression, as well as marginalized, are just a few of the many vulnerable students I work with. It's quite extensive. I am concerned regarding some books and resources that our children are being exposed to that are potentially re-victimizing youth and children, especially our students who have experienced sexual trauma. Books I was reading and exposed to throughout my university education, which were intended for adults, are now in many of our elementary, middle, and high schools. Books written for 18+ should remain in university, college, and public libraries. I'm not here to suggest that any kind of books be taken or banned or anything like that. I'm just here as a concerned youth care worker who sees a lot of this is explicit in nature and are triggering some of our children and youth, and they should not be exposed to our children or youth, especially children not mentally and emotionally capable of the content. Are we not here to protect our young people? I'm concerned that they can further be damaged and to our already vulnerable children and youth. How are the policies going to address this and make sure that our most vulnerable aren't exposed to trauma-inducing material and that they are aligned with our criminal codes in Canada regarding sexual content regarding minors? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So press your button.
Oh,
thanks.
Sorry.
Thank you. So the trustees, you can keep those comments in mind when we're debating the learning resources policy. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
That one? Okay. Hi, I'm a grandmother that has 10 grandchildren in this school district. I have two things that are on my mind here because...
You just state your name for the record, please.
Teresa Gebink.
Thanks.
So I'll just go ahead and jump right in. One of them is a safety policy. I don't know if there is such a thing for overnight trips. My first concern is regarding an overnight field trip coming up in which there are students that identify as the opposite sex attending.
Sorry, just to interrupt, that's not on the agenda. We're speaking about items that are on the agenda.
Is it not a policy? I thought you were rewriting all the policies.
No, the agenda was posted online, so we're speaking about items that are on this agenda, so that
Okay.
is not one of them.
What about for violence and bullying in the schools? Is that something I can speak on?
That's not on this agenda either.
Okay. So basically, anything I wanted to say today is not going to... When can I come to speak about it?
You can email the trustees at any point.
I have emailed you, and you responded.
Yeah.
But I didn't get the answers that I was hoping for.
Well, if you have further questions, you can write to the board.
There is a transgender child going on this field trip, but where is this child going to sleep? I know you can hear me.
I can hear you, but it's not getting broadcast because you're saying stuff that's potentially discriminatory, so I'm not going to let you speak anymore. You can please take a seat. Those items are not on the agenda. Thank you. Press the right-hand button at the bottom.
Right-hand button. Okay, thank you. My name is Judy Sluice. I have grandchildren in the school system here. I've highlighted some items from the policy that's going to be presented tonight. Looking on page 68, 69, 70, the learning resources. So first thing I wanted to note is it says here, the primary objective of learning resources is to support, enrich, and help implement the educational programs of the school. Now then on the next page, page 69, where it talks about selection of learning resources, it says they're selected the following social consideration principles. Now the principles A to F actually are not about the academic value of any of the curriculum. And I was just curious as to why, when it's talking about learning resources, the criteria has nothing to do with the academic. I find that very curious. Maybe there's an explanation to it, but I wondered why all of the diversity and the understanding and the ideology seems to be the first criteria. Now, quite often through here, it is using the phrase appropriate context. Now, I'm wondering, appropriate according to whom? Because what one person says is appropriate, another person is not. So I'm wondering who is determining what is appropriate and what is not. What a teacher says is appropriate, a parent might not. What a parent says is, a teacher might not. Another, that whole agenda. So that's used quite often. It also uses the phrase professional judgment. And again, that leaves me questioning, okay, professional as opposed to what? Education is not a business. Education is a collaboration between community, educators, board, parents. So we all are professional in our own way. I raised 8 children. I'm a professional, guaranteed. So I wanted to know, what do they mean by professional? And are you excluding parental input by saying professional? Parents are pretty professional. Also says that...
Sorry, you've had 2 minutes, so I'll give you another
Okay, well,
30 seconds.
I'll just borrow somebody else's 2 minutes. So I'll flip through this quickly. It also says that, for instance, families who wish students to not read certain topics can have those discussions at home, but it's not the role of the TL to censor choices at a circulation desk. In other words, you can tell your kids what you think they should not pursue and what they should, and nobody's going to care what the child does. So there's no supervision. So to me, that leaves it wide open. Where is the accountability? Parents and caregivers have the right to request that children not have access to a given item provided a written request is made.
That's been 30 seconds now, so that's your time. So you can have a seat and let someone else.
Can I not borrow somebody else's 2 minutes?
No, you can sit down, please.
Because there's a lot of those kinds of
you can sit down,
questions
please. Thank you.
as to how these things are all
You've
defined.
been cut off now, so you can sit down, please. Thank you.
Right button, did I get it? Okay. My name is Shantini Clausen. I'm a parent in School District 33. And I had some questions and just kind of things I wanted to learn more about in the parental rights policy. I think it's absolutely crucial that parents understand their rights. And especially, I have younger kids in the system, and so a lot of people really it's very different than when I went to school. So one of the things I'm interested in, so I've read a little bit about it, what Trustee Moss has brought forth. I've read some other commentary on it. So one thing I would really like to know is which parts overlay with the bylaws and what is really specifically new. What's missing from that is something I'd really like to understand better. There are a couple of concerns I have that I'm hoping you can discuss and address in your discussion. My biggest concern is the right to access information regarding child's activities in school. I'm unclear what that means. Because as you know, a lot of teachers, obviously they're supervising children in the classroom, but there are so many other activities that are going on at school. And I'm wondering what the expectation of teachers is to supervise playground activities, supervise social activity, and how that would, affect their work and how it would also affect a child's privacy. So maybe I'm misreading that, but I'd like to learn a little bit more of that, because even children have the right to have privacy on the playground and have their own private, personal interactions with other children. The right to access to all resources, curricula. Of course, I believe parents have the right to access those things. My only concern is how that is interpreted, not because parents shouldn't be able to access them, but it's also not a teacher's responsibility to place their entire curriculum, forth for parents. And I think that the communication of that, I would really like that to be clear, so that both parents and teachers know what their responsibilities are when they want to access that kind of material. And then my final question / concern is the right to determine what subject matter is appropriate for their child. So of course, you know, we all want our children accessing appropriate materials according to our own values, and I know that sometimes parents pull their, oh, am I done?
I'm done. I'm so sorry. In fairness to everyone.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I'm interested to hear what everyone has
Thank
to say,
you.
and I'd love to hear your
We'll
clarification.
keep those in mind while we're debating. Thank you so much. Does anyone else want to come up? Press the right hand button up there.
Is that good? Okay. All right, I'm Tanya Gaw, and this is regarding the learning resources. I'm just wondering, there's been a lot of controversy, of course, and a lot of concerned parents coming forth who aren't getting answers to their questions. And I know the board, through their association, the trustees have been told that they are, aside from not able to be, sorry, I'm not saying that right, indemnification. And they've been told under Section 94(1) that they're indemnified of the concerns regarding the criminal aspect of this. But if you go to Section 94 2A and Section 4, it's very, very clear that the board can be held liable. And so there's a lot of concerns. You all need to comply with the criminal code. And as I said, there's a lot of concerns about these materials being pornographic. It's been confirmed. This is not only in Canada, but around the world. And the board has an absolute duty to protect the hearts and minds of our children. So my question is, regarding the learning resources, have you considered the indemnification of you each personally have a duty to uphold the criminal code and according to the Teachers Act, Section 94, 2A and 4? Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead. Press your button.
My name is Dr. Darrell Ferguson. Good to see you all. I have a question through the chair to the superintendent, if I may. And I would like to read, first of all, well, my question is going to be this. Is the superintendent aware of the sexually explicit books in School District 33? Do you know their content? And is School District 33 within their legal right to provide these materials? So my question is a legal question. What legal grounds does School District 33 stand on in regards to books with explicit sexual material? So this is not about the sexual preferences of any trustee on this board, because there seems to be a lot of diversity. So we celebrate diversity. But this is not about trustees, this is about legality. I just want to read briefly. Yes? It is. It's about learning resources. Thank you very much. Okay, and my question is to the superintendent. What legal stance has the superintendent taken in regards to the criminal code? Let me just briefly read. There are strict definitions of times it wasn't considered child pornography according to Department of Justice.
So I'm turning off your mic. Dr. Ferguson, yeah, we're not doing this. There's no illegal material in our schools. That's highly defamatory. No, I'm not going to let you. Sorry. Too bad. No, it's not true. There is no illegal material in our schools. It is not a thing that is happening. So you can have a seat now. Thank you. You can come up. Thank you.
Simple question, and I didn't ask you specifically for a reason, because I knew your answer.
So
I'm asking the super, does the district
superintendent
have...
is not chairing this meeting. This is a meeting of the board, and I've told you to sit down. Thank you.
Does the superintendent...
People can either obey the rules of order of this meeting, or you'll be asked to leave.
You're inappropriately silencing a question that's legitimate. What is the legal standing? That's all I ask, of the superintendent of the school district. Now, if you don't know it, you can't say we don't care. Does the superintendent understand the legal standing? That's all it is. in regards to materials.
None of what you're saying is on the public record because I've turned off your mic, just so you know. Have a seat, Dr. Ferguson.
I love it.
Can you please ask Dr. Ferguson to leave if he will not sit down?
I will not leave, and I just want to finish my question.
This meeting is adjourned temporarily. Thank you.